There was once a man who was called Hirsch the Heretic. Why was he called Hirsch the Heretic? Because he didn't believe that the Baal Shem Tov stories were true. He didn't believe that the Baal Shem Tov had the powers that he had, and the teachings that he had, and the abilities that he had. So Hirsch, he found himself in quite the predicament. He owed 100 rubles to the Baron of the city that he lived. 100 rubles. And what Hirsch did for a living was he would sell vodka, but there was no way he was going to be able to repay this debt that he owed to the Baron. And he's worried for his life. The Baron says, you have a certain amount of days to pay me. If not, I'm going to come after you. He's thinking about his wife and his children. What am I going to do? He only has 20 rubles and he owes 100 rubles. That means he owes 80 more rubles. How am I going to get the rubles? So he thinks to himself, what I'll do is I will go travel to my relatives, and hopefully my relative will give me 80 rubles, and I'll give the 20 rubles to my wife Goldie to hold on to in case any of the Baron's men come. She could give the 20 rubles and then say that we'll give the 80 as soon as I get back, and hopefully that will work. So Hirsch the Heretic, he goes on his way. Meanwhile, the Baal Shem Tov says to his disciples, there's somewhere we need to travel. We need to go to a man named Hirsch's house. And the disciples, they all want to come. Anytime the Rebbe goes anywhere, they're so excited to go with the Rebbe. And the way it worked with the Baal Shem Tov was he had a driver named Alexei. And Alexei was always the driver for the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov would travel in his wagon, and his disciples would sometimes come with him. So his disciples come with him, they're wondering where they're going. So the Baal Shem Tov takes them to Hirsch's house. And when they get to the house, they realize that there's really not much in the house at all. That the people that live here are extremely poor. They don't really even have a table. Like they're really poor. And they also could tell that looking through the window that there's no man Hirsch that's there. There's no man in the house. There's only a woman and her children. And they say, Rebbe, what should we do? It appears that Hirsch is not here. Baal Shem Tov says, I need to go in anyways. So the Baal Shem Tov goes inside the house, and inside the house is the wife Goldie, Hirsch's wife. Now Goldie is actually a believer in the Baal Shem Tov. She doesn't ever want to tell her husband because she doesn't want to start a fight with her husband. But she's not a heretic. She believes that the Baal Shem Tov has certain powers. So the Baal Shem Tov sits down with the woman, and he says, I'd like to give a blessing to your children. So she said, Rebbe, I don't have much to offer you. I can only offer you half a ruble. And the Baal Shem Tov looks at her. He says, only half a ruble? You're only going to give me half a ruble for a blessing? And she said, okay, I have another half a ruble. I'll give you that half a ruble. The Baal Shem Tov says, you're only giving me 1 ruble for blessing? Only 1 ruble? And finally this continues until she gives the Baal Shem Tov all 20 rubles. Before he finally blesses Goldie, her family, her husband, and the kids and the whole family, that they should have long life and wealth. And then the Baal Shem Tov says thank you, and she thanks the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov goes on. He goes back into his wagon, and the woman is so, even though she just gave away all the rubles for this blessing, she's so excited that the Baal Shem Tov came to her house for a blessing. Like, oh, it's an unbelievable experience. But when Baal Shem Tov gets back into his wagon, his disciples are looking at him like funny, like, Rebbe, this woman had like no money. and you just took her money. They're thinking to themselves, how could our Rebbe, how could the holy Baal Shem Tov do that to a woman? That's horrible. How could he? But they know that the Baal Shem Tov never does anything for a bad reason. Everything that the Baal Shem Tov does is for a good reason. So there must be a reason, but they're all so afraid that they don't ask the Baal Shem Tov. And the Baal Shem Tov and his disciples, they leave. So a few days later, Goldie's husband, Hirsch the Heretic, he comes back, and he's depressed, and he's tired. He says, my dear wife, my relatives, they don't want to help. I don't know what we're gonna do. I'm scared for our lives. And Goldie sits down with her husband. She says, my dear husband, while you were gone, the Baal Shem Tov came, and he gave a blessing. He gave a blessing for us. And, Hirsch is very skeptical of the Baal Shem Tov. That's why he's called Hirsch the Heretic. He says, well, how much did the Baal Shem Tov, how much money was it? She said, half a ruble. And he says, no, really? Well, she says, another half a ruble. And finally she admits that she gave away all 20 of the rubles. And Hirsch is screaming and he's freaking out. You gave away all 20 rubles. Now we don't even have anything to give the Baron's men when they come. They're gonna take me away. They're gonna hurt me. They're gonna kill me. What are we gonna do? He can't believe he's so troubled that he just goes to sleep. In his sleep, he hears a knock, and he thinks it's a dream, but he realizes there's actually a knock at the door. And he comes and he opens the door. And there was standing a large man whose name is Ivan. This man Ivan says, Hirsch, I hear that you have vodka. I want some vodka. So Hirsch, he's exhausted. He's upset. He has like a tiny bit, like he literally has like no possessions. He has like a little bit of vodka in his house. Fine, I'll give you some vodka. So he gives the guy a shot. And the guy likes the shot. He gives him another shot. He gives him 4 shots of vodka. And this man Ivan then pays him a gold coin. And he says, what I want you to do with this gold coin is tomorrow you could exchange. You get whatever money that I need in exchange back that you owe me back. You give me back. In the meantime, you buy what you need. You buy what you need for your family. Okay. Very nice of this man Ivan to do that. So that's exactly what Hirsch does. He keeps the word. He goes into the town, and he gets the money that the gold coin's worth. It turns out that this gold coin's worth a lot of money, and he has some for himself, and he gives the rest back to Ivan. The next night, Ivan comes again in the middle of the night. Hirsch is waking up in the middle of the night. He's frustrated. And again, Ivan gives him a gold coin. And Hirsch is excited because these gold coins, they're worth a lot of money. And even though he's giving his money back, it's helping his business. But still, he's scared because it's not enough in time to get 100 rubles to pay. So Ivan says to him one night, the third night, Ivan says, Hirsch, I have a deal for you. I want to come to you every night, and I want your vodka. Your vodka is amazing vodka. But I don't want to always have to bring the coins. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you my whole bag of coins, and that way, for the rest of my life, I could always come to you for vodka, and you don't charge me. Do we have ourselves a deal? And Hirsch said, are you sure you want to make that deal? Like, how do you know that you'll keep coming? Like, are you sure? And Ivan says, I want to make the deal. So they make the deal, and Ivan gives Hirsch this whole bag of gold coins. And Hirsch, in exchange, whenever Ivan wants a drink, will give him whatever drink he wants for the rest of his life. So Hirsch is now extremely excited because he has all these gold coins. It's amazing. And his wife says to him, Goldie says to him, Hirsch, you see, the Baal Shem Tov did bless us. He gave us this blessing for a long life and for wealth. And look what just happened. And Hirsch realizes something special is going on here. So he decides that he has to go see the Baal Shem Tov. He's always been skeptical of the Baal Shem Tov, which is why he's Hirsch the Heretic. But he realizes he needs to go see the Baal Shem Tov. So he goes to the synagogue where the Baal Shem Tov is praying, and he says to himself, I need to talk to the Baal Shem Tov. I need to speak to him and see what's going on here. So Hirsch's whole life he's been skeptical, and now he's going to talk to the Baal Shem Tov because of this act of kindness that's happened. So he walks into the room, and he sees the Baal Shem Tov, and he stands up and he says, Shalom Aleichem, peace be upon you. And the Baal Shem Tov looks at Hirsch as if he's known him his whole life, with his piercing blue eyes. And he says, Hirsch, I want you to know that man that came to you, Ivan, that man, he wasn't really Ivan. He was actually Elijah the prophet. Elijah the prophet sometimes will appear to people. He'll come in a physical form in very holy circumstances. And the Baal Shem Tov is saying, the man that came to you is Elijah the prophet. He's not going to come back anymore and ask for any more vodka. So all that money that you got is now your money, and you get to keep that money. And this is what I want you to do. There's a town called Leipzig, and I want you to move your family to Leipzig. You probably wonder why do I want you to move your town? Why do I want you to move your family to the town of Leipzig? Because I see that you move your family to that town, your family will prosper and you'll be wealthy for many, many generations, and things will be good for your family for many generations. And Hirsch, he now believes in the Baal Shem Tov. He's a changed man. He sees the power that the Baal Shem Tov had, the foresight of this whole entire thing, and how it all played out. And he realizes that the Baal Shem Tov truly is a holy man. And he apologizes to the Baal Shem Tov for not having believed in him, and he said, I'll do what you say, Rebbe. I'll listen to you. And that's exactly what Hirsch did. He moved his family to the town of Leipzig, and he had all this money now. He was able to pay back the Baron. He was able to move. And for the rest of his life, he dedicated his life to spreading the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and to spreading stories of the Baal Shem Tov, of inspiring people for the rest of his life. And by the end of his life, he wasn't known as Hirsch the Heretic anymore. He was known as Hirsch the Holy. So what can we learn from this incredible story? This man was skeptical of the Baal Shem Tov, right? Skeptical, someone that could perform miracles, someone that could understand these things. He didn't believe. And he had his whole troubled life, and he didn't know what to do, right? But his wife always believed in the Baal Shem Tov. And because she believed in the Baal Shem Tov really wanted to help their family, because he knew that deep down Hirsch is a good guy. His wife already believes in him. He wants to help their family. And that's exactly what he did. And he taught Hirsch that we shouldn't be skeptical. Sometimes we should be skeptical. But when there's a really holy rabbi, when there's a really holy person like that, we shouldn't doubt their words. We should take their word for what they say. When they're well known and when they're an extremely holy person, and a lot of people agree that person is a very holy person. And when you do, your fortunes can go from the scariest of things, of this Baron going to come after you, to now being wealthy, going to live a long life, enjoying your life, and truly believing. It's really amazing if you just take a second and you're willing to do what Goldie, his wife, did. What his wife did, she was willing to give up every penny they had, even though it was really scary, for a blessing, because she knew the value of a blessing. So when you're offered a blessing, never turn down the blessing, and understand if a great tzaddik, if a great righteous person is offering you a blessing, if for some reason they're charging you, there's a good reason, and good things will happen. And we should all spread the words of the holy Baal Shem Tov, for he has affected already so many souls, and he should only, in his merit, we should continue to affect many more souls for the good and inspire people, just like he inspired Hirsch and brought him from being a heretic to Hirsch the Holy.